Ladies and gentlemen, it's quite appropriate that tonight's movie was released during Shark Week. Shark Week, of course, one of the biggest weeks in television. And this lesson plan combines several themes that we've come very accustomed to over the years. One, people trapped in a shark cage, and two, people caught on a boat being run by drug dealers. Okay? Those two themes intermesh for tonight's, but I gotta tell you, it's a rather manic performance by Antonio Banderas that boosters this film cinematic class is about to begin, and your professor is in. Greetings, salutations, another sundry affair. I am your cinematic professor and purveyor of truth in movies. And tonight's lesson plan is a movie called Above and Below, and it comes to us from the folks at Aura Entertainment. A group of young people are having a nice little vacation getaway on island, and one of the guys gets involved in a poker game, ends up losing a lot of money, but the guy running the table is kind of impressed with his panache at playing the game. And so he decides to offer to the young lad and his friends a nice little shark cage adventure on his boat. So the next day, everybody piles up onto the boat and out they go for their shark cage adventure. Unfortunately, the kids also discover that there's bags of drugs being carted on the boat, something obviously they weren't supposed to discover. And now we find ourselves in a situation where two of the young ladies in the group, Tatiana and Kaylee, are in the shark cage. They're down in the water, and now one of the drug bags has gone overboard and is at the bottom of the little spot where they're anchored, and the girls are being forced to get out of the cage and retrieve the bag. Otherwise, their friends are all going to start dying. So, surrounded by sharks, limited air in the tanks, they must go down and get this bag and retrieve it. Yikes. It's going to cause a lot of tension in this movie, but they must do something in order to outwit the criminals on the boat and survive the sharks.
Just waiting for a few more.
Who else is coming?
Oh, no one you need to worry about.
Stay in the cage.
How's it going down there, ladies?
Hey! Put these back.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
This vessel belongs to Esteban.
And on my boat, no loose ends.
Oh, please don't do this.
What is that? What is going on? Do not open this cage. It's sinking! We're down here! He's gonna kill us too. You get that, right?
I cannot let you or your friends get in the way of my business. You want to be respected? Earn it. Go.
We don't have much time.
This is just a warm-up. your life. I promise you.
All right, let's take a look here in front of the camera for this movie. Our main star is Laura Marano. Many of you may recognize her from the Disney Channel, where she played in the series Austin and Ally. Her portrayal of Kaylee in this movie is a little bit uneven. She switches from, a petrified, whiny woman to suddenly the Ripley type female warrior, and the bounce between is it's not subtle at all. It's really uneven. Antonio Banderas is always worth watching. He's a lot of fun in this one. Plays kind of a bipolar drug runner. He attempts really to be nice to people, but somehow he always ends up killing them. Team him up with his main henchman, who was played by Louis Mandylor. Louis is just psychotic in this movie. He's really over the deep end, and the two of them together make for some really good antagonists. Also on board the boat are Christina Ochoa, Diego Llenas, and Timothy Murphy. Alrighty, behind the camera, we have this movie directed by Jesse Johnson. You'll probably recognize that name because he's done 3 movies previous with Outtakes favorite Scott Adkins. And 2 of those movies, The Debt Collector and The Debt Collectors, were both really good, and I gave good reviews for both of them. They not only had Scott Adkins in them, but they had Louis Mandylor in them as well. And so Louis Mandylor, real familiar with this director. That's probably why they worked real. Speaking of Louis, in this movie, he plays a character that is absolutely petrified of sharks. And, eventually he's going to end up in the water with them. However, during the real filming of the movie, a hammerhead shark got a little curious and started coming around and circling the shooting the set there on the water. While he did that, Louis was in the water and, remained calm and unfazed. It didn't seem like the shark was too interested in him. There was another boat filled with fans who wanted to see Antonio Banderas. And when they came in and started, hooping and hollering and making noise, the shark kind of skedaddled away and the episode was ended. But it was kind of fun to put it in that way. That's when they were in the Canary Islands doing like the boat scenes and the scenes on top of the water. To go under the water, they shifted to Sofia, Bulgaria. They had a big tank there where they could do and all of the stars had to go through the classes and learn their, proper way to breathe underwater in the apparatus and get their certification and all that kind of stuff. And so they had a little bit of training to do for this film. The movie is written by Tony Giordano. Tony's done a pretty good job in keeping this thing moving. It does move. But there are an awful lot of, when you have a story and, one thing kind of goes wrong and you go, uh-oh, how do we get out of this? And then another thing kind of goes wrong and, uh-oh, how do we get out of this? And then when all the things going wrong start to fall like dominoes and there's so many of them, well, you're leaning more toward the area of madcap comedy rather than, a thriller or a tension thing. So there may have been one or too many, maybe, of these things that, Murphy Law things that were thrown into this plot. Above and Below is a decent movie for some tension, but I got to tell you, it uses some themes that are all too familiar right now. There have been a pretty good batch of movies about, people getting stuck on a boat with nefarious no goods for whatever reason. And there have also been, just in the last couple of years, at least a half a dozen movies. I think probably one of the biggest was 40 Feet Below or something like that, where people through circumstances are in a cage, looking at sharks, and something happens to the cage where it goes down and they're stuck in the cage surrounded by sharks. So they're very familiar themes, and this movie really does not add anything new to either one of those themes. I will say that it builds up tension. So even though some of the predicaments you're sitting there going, oh, geez, this now what, they still build it up so that there are some tense scenes there, and especially if you have a fear of sharks, this one will really put you off. I tell you, it's summertime. It's Shark Week when this movie was viewed and when it comes out. So some night it's nice, it's warm. You get yourself some popcorn and sprinkle some Parmesan cheese all over it. Serve it with a nice red wine, and sit back and relax and watch Above and Below, and you probably have a pretty good time. And now that you have learned what you have learned, herein